here. Thank you very much. Excuse me, I had a little voice surgery. Sometimes my voice doesn't last an hour. So Shruti Kirti was kind enough to help me out a little bit. It's a big honor to be here in Vrindavan. I think it's the biggest honor, and I'm very delighted to be here. I just want to have an idea of who else is here. So whoever lives in Vrindavan, raise your hand. You basically live here most of the time, okay? And whoever doesn't speak English, has no idea what I just said, raise your hand. Okay, good, this helps. Is anybody here for the first time? First time they've been to a Krishna temple? Really? Very good, okay. Is anybody here for the last time? Yep, don't know, you gotta balance things just to see. Okay, so far so good. Is there anybody that's sitting in the corner translating to another language? If so, I'll try to speak slower. Or everyone here is kind of English speaking and all of that. Okay, so who here is from Europe? Okay, very good. And who's from Asia? Asia, okay. And Africa? Nobody from Africa. North America? Okay, yeah, South America? Antarctica? Okay, I think I covered most of the world. Try not to leave anything out. Very good. Still trying to figure out where Great Britain is, but that's another matter. Okay, well, today we're speaking about Lord Nrsingadev, and I'll read the verse. The hair on Nrsingadev's head shook the clouds and scattered them here and there. His glaring eyes stole the effulgence of the luminaries in the sky, and his breathing agitated the seas and oceans. Because of his roaring, all the elephants in the world began to cry in fear. And the verses before and the verses afterwards go on. I mean, this was a pretty heavy moment. I mean, when Lord Nrsingadev gets upset, when Krishna comes, he manifests all the emotions. Krishna is, above all, a person. And every one of you in the room is a person. You each have your individual personalities. I asked Prabhupada one time, do we give up our personalities when we become Krishna conscious? Yeah. Oh. Is that better? Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Mic gets this close, they should make chocolate-covered mics. Anyway, the question comes, are we really a person? And if we're a person, what does it mean? Do we give up our personality to be Krishna conscious? So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. But I want to go into the purport first. As the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, 10:41. Some pundit, give me 10:41 real loud. Come on, we got pundits here. Not one pundit? Come on, I gotta be a one pundit. But you are reading it. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring but from a spark of my splendor. I think of that verse all the time. Last night I was in a rickshaw, and there was this beautiful sunset. It was one of these red sunsets right over the Yamuna River. I mean, it was spectacular. I mean, the sun was so bright red, and there was a little bit of a mist, and the river flowing, and in the background, you can hear from maybe 5 or 6 different locations the Maha Mantra. And I was thinking, wow, it doesn't get better. And I thought of this verse. Of course, I was also preparing for the class, so the verse was on my mind. Know that all that's beautiful, that really was beautiful. Glorious, that was glorious. And mighty, it was awesome. The large sky was just a spark of his splendor. So that moment last night, I saw that was a spark of Krishna's splendor. It was quite nice. Sometimes I've seen, as aspiring bhaktas, we sometimes go through various gyrations. And one of the gyrations is we want to sort of give up our relationship with the world. Of course, our relationship with the world prior to taking up devotional service was basically, hey world, what do you got for me? What are you going to give me? I want something. When I first came to India, I came to India I came here originally as a high school teacher in the most advanced, modern, progressive state in India. I was a high school teacher in Bihar. So, for some that might be an inside joke, but the rest know it. And I wanted to know what's the source of the Bhagavad Gita. I came to India I want to come on the inside, find out where does this great knowledge come from? And I had heard devotees chanting in New York in the 60s, and I was kind of astounded. I think it was Jayadvaita Swami's party, I believe. He and I talked, we think so. And the mantra stuck in my head. I said, okay, so I got a mantra stuck in my head. And then I actually met the devotees. And I said, oh my God, these people are strange. They got a blue sock and a red sock. They have these strange outfits and speak this strange jargon. Okay, I'll never figure this out. Then I redetermined my effort. I'm going to India to figure this out. So when I got to India, I would go to various temples and even mosques, and I would ask this one question. Simple question. Why are you here? What's your purpose of being here? A simple question. And I got only one answer. The answer was what I call the Amazon.com answer. You all know Amazon, I'm sure. It's in India. So it's the Amazon.com answer. When you go, why were they at the temple? Well, the purpose of being at the temple or mosque, even a church, was to make a deal. God, I will give you something. Maybe I'll give you all the hair on my head, or I'll give you prayers, or a rupee, or I give you something, and I want something bigger in return. It's like on sale day on Amazon. I'm going to give you so many rupees, but it's sale day, so you're going to give me more in return than I should normally get. More than I deserve. And that's what it looked like. It looked like a big Amazon.com. So needless to say, I came a long way. I lived in extremely austere conditions. I mean, my salary was a few hundred rupees a month. And when you have a Western body that doesn't go very far at all, basically, I was basically camping out in a village. So it was a different experience. And I found out very early on, my first day in India, I went and said, oh, I'll have some sugarcane juice. Don't do that on your first day in India. So it was some great austerity, and then there was no answer to the questions. So disappointing. Why are we here? So we'll continue and then get back to this. The illumination of the planets and stars in the sky is but a partial manifestation of the Lord's effulgence. There are many wonderful qualities of different living entities, but whatever extraordinary things exist are but part of the Lord's tejas, his illumination, tejas, or brilliance. The deep waves of the seas and oceans and the many other wonders within the creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead all become insignificant when the Lord, in his special feature, incarnates within this material world. Everything is insignificant in comparison to his personal, all-defeating, transcendental qualities. Oh my God. So, here, we're talking about Lord Krishna appearing in a special form, and we'll discuss that form in a little bit, because Prabhupada describes here, becomes all the deep waves of the ocean and all the wonders of his creation become quite insignificant when the Lord in a special feature incarnates in the material world. And it's just like we're sitting here and it's nice, it's a nice cool day for the first time in Vrindavan this morning. And there's nice breezes and everyone's kind of comfortable and everyone looks kind of well. But if somehow a lion would jump through the ceiling and stand in the middle of the room, we would forget everything else. Everything else become insignificant. And if that lion had hairs, who just his hair standing up would knock down the airplanes of the demigods, we'd be even more amazed. So Lord Nrsingadev appeared for various reasons. One of the reasons is because God is a person. And as a person, he likes exhibiting. Persons mean we have emotions, and God will exhibit various emotions. Here he is exhibiting the emotion of anger. Now, is anger emotion to be suppressed? Or is it emotion to be embraced? Now, I'll tell you a story about Lord Nrsingadev and anger. I just came back from Ujjain, where I had to attend a very intense 2-day GBC subcommittee. There was 13 of us on there, the whole EC and all. And it was very, very intense. And it was an issue that needed a lot of attention that I've only been working on for 20 years. So, needless to say, I had a lot of emotion. And there was different sides and different positions, and it had a lot of importance to our society. And by the way, it ended perfectly well with complete and unanimous agreement, because that's what happens when the Upadeshamrita plays out. Upadeshamrita means devotees reveal their mind in confidence. In this case, devotees really were able to, I do ISKCON Resolve, which is conflict resolution for ISKCON. And one of the most Krishna magical moments I get in my service is when devotees actually reveal their mind in confidence, sometimes even with a lot of emotion. And the other side actually hears them, and they hear them. St. Francis of the Catholic tradition used to say, if you want to be understood, what do you do? Somebody know? If you want to be understood, what do you do? Can somebody tell me?
Listen.
If you really want to be understood, what do you do? I really want to be understood by you, Shruti. What do I do? I understand you. I understand. If you really, yes. Listen. We don't know how. You know that God. We always forget God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. But listen is right. Understand. You're right. Listen is it. If I want to, what's the opposite of talking? Some people would say listening, but for most of us, it's waiting to talk. Yeah, we're not really listening, but to really listen. The mindfulness has become the big rage now, the Buddhist mindfulness. And of course, it's a very, there's some powerful techniques there. But the best mindfulness is going to do is give us a little peace, take away some of the pressure. It's not going to take us to the next step. Nevertheless, as devotees, it's very, very useful to be mindful. To be mindful. And a part of mindfulness is learning how to actively listen. It was interesting. Prabhupada, as Shruti will confirm, very keenly listened. He understood what we were saying. I'll give a little side story. One time, Prabhupada, he was so keenly aware, he was going on a little walk on Juhu Beach. Vrindavan Raj told me the story. And there were like 10 people went with him every day. Same 10 people. And they're walking past this tall building on the way to the beach. And Prabhupada turns, as they're walking past the building, Prabhupada turns to one of the devotees, all the devotees, and goes, "Where is he?" The devotees look around, thinking which one of the 10 is missing. "We're all here, Prabhupada." And Prabhupada goes, "No, where is he?" And they look around again and count. "We're all here, Prabhupada." And Prabhupada again goes, "Where is he?" Devotees say, "Prabhupada, we're all here." Prabhupada goes, "No, the guy on the 10th floor, every day he's watching us walk by, and he's not there today." That is an example of mindfulness. Seeing, observing, being keenly aware. So we're digressing a little bit, but the point is that Krishna is a person, and he has his personality, and Nrsingadev represented the opportunity to show a little anger. And sometimes it's appropriate to show anger when if Prabhupada had his Nrsingadev side, Sriti Kirti Prabhu could take us till midnight telling stories about that very excellently. But I'm just going to tell my little story. So I'm at the GBC meeting, and there's this intense 20-year issue. Now, I'm trained to be a neutral party for many mediations, but I have my emotions, and this particular issue, I had my own strong feelings. And I didn't want to get angry. So what could I do? Because when there's pent-up emotions, that can happen. So I said, okay, that won't be auspicious. And when something weighs on one for a long time, and any of us feel something is being done unfairly, we can experience these emotions. So there I am in Ujjain. Who's here been to Ujjain? Ujjain. Well, Ujjain's a special place. Bhakti True Swami built a beautiful, beautiful temple, and he put a Nrsingadev deity there, just like Mayapur's Nrsingadev, kind of in the corner, kind of dark, kind of ferocious, and really did it well. So I went up to Lord Nrsingadev every day, and I said, "Lord Nrsingadev, you are the essence of anger. You're Krishna appearing in his angry form. So I'm begging you, take away my anger. I don't want it. Please, you take away my anger." And then I went to Radha Madan Mohan. I said, I had my own special private prayer to them. And then I went to Krishna Balaram. And I said to them, at the deity installation in Vrindavan, were you there, Shruti Kirti? The deity installation here? Yeah. Okay. Prabhupada said, now Balaram is here. Everything is all right. He can give you spiritual strength if you feel weak. If we ever have difficulty, we can approach Krishna and Balaram and say, "Sirs, this is the problem," and they will do the needful. So I went up to Krishna Balaram and I said, "Sirs," and I described the problem. I said, "For 20 years we have not been able to solve this problem. Sirs, I am at a loss of what to do. What do we do?" So I said that, and I had my own private prayer with Radha and Krishna before to open my heart up, told Nrsingadev to empty out any emotions that were not appropriate for the day. And I said, sirs, you have to solve this problem. And I was very directive about it because Prabhupada said to do that. Do you remember when he said that? Did I say it correctly, Shruti? Okay. I wasn't actually here for that opening. And it happened. It happened very well. So, the point is, we each have our personalities. And what Prabhupada said to me on personalities is you don't give up your personhood. It was a big issue, because as we become devotees, sometimes we can become very cookie cutter. Like, for example, everyone has to look like this and dress like this. And when you join the army, that's exactly how it is. Who here has been in the army? Who here liked being in the army? You did? It's good, okay. I couldn't stand it, but that's another matter. But it's not my nature, but it's good. I mean, there are Kshatriya types, they like it. But in the army, what's the first thing they do when you get in? Everyone gets the same haircut. Everyone gets the same clothes. Everyone looks the same. They eat the same. They do everything the same because they want you to become an intimate part of a team, and they want to wipe out any selfishness. So you can, am I getting this right? So you can become part of a dynamic team because your life and everyone's life around you is dependent on that. Then what's the second thing the army does? Second thing they do is and the army, at least in America, is actually good at this. They find out what you're really good at, and then they try to have you do that. That's varnashram. That's varnashram. Varnashram means to find, in ISKCON we tend to reverse things. In the ideal world, our management comes to us and says, Prabhu, I want to know your propensity. And the devotee is saying, I'll do anything for Krishna. And the manager says, no, I need to understand your propensity better. But in the real world, the manager says, you must do anything for Krishna. And we're saying, no, what about my propensity? we kind of reverse it. But Bourgeon had put it that way to me once. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Nevertheless, we do have our particular personality. And the military won't be successful if they don't engage people according to their particular nature. In a similar way in ISKCON, we are trying to do what Arjuna and Krishna did in the Gita. Find out our nature and engage that in Krishna's service. So what Prabhupada said to me when I asked him about this is, yes, because I was afraid all devotees were all kind of looking alike, talking alike, and those who had come to India were nodding their head alike, even though they're Westerners. And I was thinking, do I have to do all this? Do I have to give up everything? I mean, and so I was a little bewildered. Am I giving up my whole personality? And I realize there's obnoxious and bad things in my personality and things that need improvement. I mean, I wasn't that dull. I was self-aware enough to do that. But do I actually have to give up who I am? So what did Prabhupada say? Any guesses? What would Prabhupada say? What would some of you have said? Do I have to give up who I am? Yes, Prabhu. Here, microphone. So,
we all have our spiritual identity and like our fingerprint. Everybody is an individual to serve Krishna. So no, we don't lose our sarup, our eternal position serving Krishna.
But but I don't know my eternal position. Maybe I'm a rock in Vrindavan. I don't know. Right now, I know what I have. I have a Jewish body from New Jersey. For those of us from New York, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. But anyway, so I get this. That's what I was given. A white body and from America. So that's what I'm given. So yes.
You add Krishna.
Add Krishna. Yeah. Yeah. One thing Prabhupada said. Yes. I can't hear you. I still can't hear you.
Hold on, let me get the mic.
Say again. Chant the holy name. But what about me? What about me? I mean, do I have to be me? That's a tough question. Think about it for a minute. Any other thoughts on this? I mean, how much of me do I give up to be a devotee, and how much of me do I keep? I mean, I don't want to just merge, but then again, you know, my own personality is so much material conditioning. You know, I mean, for example, I'm born in a Jewish family, so we're known as the chosen people, so we think we're very important, some of us. Some of you were born in Brahmin families, so you think you're very, very important. Oh, I am Brahmin, I'm very, very important. And some of you are Kshatriya families. Oh, I am so powerful. You know, we think like this. We have certain pride. Some of you think you're born in a man's body. Oh, so much better than a woman. You know, I mean, the real story is when you're born in a man's body, I personally find, Prabhupada noticed that the churches are filled with women, not men. Men have so much more pride often than women. Women have such ability to be nurturing and devotional. And there are, as Prabhupada repeated many times, his devotees, many, many intelligent women. So should I be proud that I have this particular body? Sometimes maybe. Should I be proud of that? But should I just entirely give up my bodily identification? What do we do with this paradox? Any other ideas? Okay, who in here has successfully given up entirely their bodily identification? Oh, you haven't. Okay. Should we feel horribly guilty about that? Should we feel guilty about giving up? That we haven't given up? I mean, if I show up tomorrow and I say, I'm going to come here in a sari, is that okay too? Trying to give up my bodily identification? So how do we deal with this dilemma? Any more ideas here? Yes. Here, take a microphone. Microphone, please.
Just serving Krishna, devotional service, engaging ourselves in devotional service.
We're saying just engaging and serving Krishna. But if we do it, if everyone's engaging and serving Krishna, won't everyone just be looking alike and talking alike? Is there any variation? Okay. Yes. Come take a microphone, because we're broadcast on TV all over the world. When you come up here, there's going to be 1 million people watching you, so don't be self-conscious. Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna. We don't have to lose our identity, but we lose our weaknesses and propensities, the weaknesses, but we replace them with the good qualities to serve Krishna.
So you said, we lose our weaknesses. Okay.
The bad qualities
Yeah.
that is an impediment to serve Krishna, but we develop good qualities to serve Krishna, and at the same time we don't lose our identity of who we are.
Well spoken.
We're the servant of Krishna.
Well spoken. Very intelligent answer. Thank you very much. I'll say, here's what Prabhupada said to me, if I may quote it. Does a devotee lose his individuality? Has anybody here wondered that? Or was I the only weird one around there? Who has wondered, do we lose our individuality? I wondered it a lot. Okay. No, he has full individuality for pleasing Krishna. Krishna says, you surrender unto me. So he voluntarily surrenders. It is not that he has lost his individuality. He keeps his individuality. Just like Arjuna. In the beginning, he was declining to fight on account of his individuality. But when he accepted Krishna as his spiritual master, became disciple, then whenever Krishna ordered, he said, yes, that doesn't mean he lost his individuality. He voluntarily accepted whatever Krishna says I shall do. Just like my disciples, they have not lost their individuality, but they have surrendered it. That is required. And then Prabhupada goes on, and I ask again, does the devotee who surrenders keep his individual taste for things? Does he keep his taste? We'll take a vote. Who here says yes? Who says no? Okay? And who doesn't know? Everyone has to vote. Come on, we're in a democratic country here. Okay. And Prabhupada, are you ready for the answer? We have a little drum roll first. The answer is yes. He keeps everything, this is dramatic, in full. But he gives preference to Krishna. He gives preference to Krishna. Suppose I like something, but Krishna says you cannot use it. Then I shall give it up for Krishna's sake. Anyway, Prabhupada then goes on to give examples. So, Krishna is a person, is what's behind all this. And Krishna appears in various forms. When Krishna had an itch on his back, what form did he appear? Krishna had an itch on his back. Any of you ever have an itch on your back and say to your friend, hey, can you scratch right here? I can't quite reach it. Or you have one of those back scratchers. We all get itches on our back. When Krishna had an itch on his back, what form did he appear in? Yes. And how did he get his back scratched? The demigods and the demons churned on him and scratched his back. Krishna's a person. His back itches sometimes. His back will itch. You're a person, your back itches. It's person. We don't lose our personality in becoming devotees. Sometimes when Krishna exhibits a little anger, Krishna exhibits person. So the lesson in here, at least to me, is that we're trying to purify our personality, but not give it up. One of the greatest problems I find in ISKCON, in my own work in dealing in a mediation setting with devotees, it's one of the biggest problems I find in the movement. I can sum it up in one word: loneliness. Loneliness. I find a huge number of devotees feel lonely. I feel that this one issue is a root cause of it, in which we're trying to give up our personality, and that's not what we do for Krishna. We use our personality for Krishna, and if something is unacceptable, we may have to put it in our anartha category and rise above it. But that existential loneliness comes from trying to be somebody we're not. And then, where does loneliness come from? The Upadeshamrita gives very clear and specific instructions. It says, as devotees, we should do what? Reveal our mind in confidence. Give and receive prasadam, so many things. But there's an old saying we used to have in the movement: telephone, telegraph, and tell a devotee. Meaning, there wasn't much confidence kept. Telephone, you can broadcast widely. Telegraph, we used to have it, don't have it more. Broadcast widely. Tell a devotee my inner darkest secret. It's broadcast widely. But all of us have our personal struggle. We have our weaknesses and we have our strengths. And we have to have those close friends and associates that we can reveal our minds to without being judged. Because when we're judged, and that's why mindfulness has become so popular, because mindfulness is how to rise above judgment. My own experience being with Prabhupada when I met him, and Shruti Kirti will confirm this many times over, is Shruti, we had our weaknesses. When I met Prabhupada, I could go into a whole story of what I looked like and where I was coming from, what I had been doing. He didn't judge us. He just saw we were here to render a little tiny bit of service to Krishna, and he took it. When he was in the Bowery in New York, and one drunk staggered in, the voice think, we got to get this smelly, stinky guy out of here. And he struggled up to the Vyasasan and dropped the gift at Prabhupada's feet, something Prabhupada would have no use for: a roll of toilet paper. What did Prabhupada say? Thank you very much. He had engaged in some devotional service. So Prabhupada would look without judging. So what I learned from this verse here, Lord Nrsingadev is a person. We're a person. He exhibits his personality in various ways. We exhibit ours. But we want to exhibit it in relation to Krishna. We want to exhibit it on a progressive path of purification. And how do we do it? The most important way of doing it is establishing relationships among the devotees where we can reveal our mind. We feel that we're really a valued person. Prabhupada made us each feel like a valued person. So now I'm going to roll back. All this ties together in the knot to the GBC meeting. While we were there, and there was some difficulties going on between different devotees, at the very end, when people really revealed the core of their heart, why they felt that way. And when they did, and then one devotee after another revealed their mind. Radhanath Swami was there. He brilliantly started it. I mean, in such a brilliant way, I could hardly imagine. And when devotee after another started opening their heart up, all of a sudden, I said, I feel like I'm in a living Upadesh Amrita class. And everyone went out, instead of dispute, felt together, because people started doing one thing. They started doing two things. They started recognizing each other, that you have reasons why you feel this way or concerns, and appreciating each other, and doing what Prabhupada was the most expert in the world at, empowering each other. In this movement, for example, we're going to have very conservative people and very liberal people. We must have it. When the great acharyas is here, what great acharyas do, and you read the history of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the history of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, the history of Prabhupada, some of us are wired to be very conservative, really literally wired. I mean, there's many well-done books on this subject matter I can share with you if someone wanted to study the subject. And some of us are wired to be more liberal in our thoughts. The great acharya is so brilliant he can keep the both ends together. Then when the great acharya leaves, it's very difficult to keep both ends together. And we can only, by working really together and revealing our minds and really starting to appreciate each other, can we continue the work that the great acharya began. Because that's a special prerogative of great acharyas, to be able to take all the diverse elements and bring it together. So we're going to stop here and leave some time for questions. I appreciate speaking. But before that, I want to give an unpaid commercial announcement. Shruti Kirti had opened up the subject matter. So good having you here. See, when Shruti Kirti's here, and I can see his smile, then I feel always peaceful and happy. A very happy smile for me. So there is a book here that Shruti Kirti recommended. So I'm also going to recommend this to you from the bottom of my heart. There are several books of the earlier days of the movement that are good. Mukunda Goswami's Miracle on 2nd Avenue, the very early days, there's nothing quite like that. It is brilliant. The recently released Shama Sundar's Chasing the Rhino, Volume 1. Oh, is that fun to read and so informative. And there's a series of books out, and Yamuna's biography, my God, I just couldn't put it down. And every day I go here, and Yamuna had a lot to do with me actually becoming a devotee. So it's just something personal, but I just go to her samadhi and let out my tears. And so we have these great books. Vishaka's book is unique among all of these books. Each has their own angle. I knew Vishaka when I first went to Mayapur. At the first Mayapur festival, there was only one guest. There was 70 zealous devotees, a Bhajan Kutir Prabhupada and some tents, and one guest. And each devotee was in a bigger preaching mood than the next. The one guest was me. And devotees were taking their turn of who can get him next, because everyone wanted to preach, and there was one guest to speak to. That was English speaking. So Prabhupada kept me in his hut with him for many days to protect me. And Vishaka and Yadabara were there. And they were kind of, no offense intended to anybody, they were kind of normal people. Yadabara had been in the Peace Corps, and they were a married couple, so I could relate to them. So I became a great admirer from the very first time I met them of Vishaka and Yadabara. And over the years, we have various contacts, and I always appreciate every moment of it. And then when Vishaka wrote her book, it moved me no end. It's 5 years, 11 months. That's how long she was initiated disciple of Prabhupada. And I recommend everyone get this book. She's selling it out between here and the Balaram Hall, in the little strip there where they have various booths. What? That side. I'm all turned around. Okay. And I just reread the part of Prabhupada's departure, and now that day is coming up, and I have to say that the emotions and description of it is probably the description of those days that most moved me at all. And the struggle she had, because she was like me, kind of not so much coming from the hippie world, but coming from a world of professionalism. I was a professional, she was a professional photographer, and then trying to see how we can fit into this movement, which to both of us appeared kind of cultish at times. And then Prabhupada captured her heart as he captured mine. That story is so touching, so personal, and so important that everyone here must buy this book. So I want to know how many people here are going to go buy that book today. Okay, how many are not going to buy the book? This is getting better. Okay, good. Okay, so now I've said what I wanted to say from the core of my heart. So we have questions now, time for questions. Yes, Prabhu, in front, in yellow here in front.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for the subject matter being explained so eloquently. And then, two things of that, we hear about the Shastric personalities, like we hear the scriptures regarding Guru Maharaj, Raghunath Das Goswami. So we get inspired by their qualities. But we have our own dark past and conditionings and of sinful life. So, but we are aspiring for those qualities in our life. So, as you said, the loneliness means that we are trying to be something which we are not. But at the same time, we have to progress and develop these qualities in us. So it takes us to sometimes to the zone of mind where we are struggling with our identity, like who we are. We are aspiring for something, but we are acting in a little contrary way. It creates confusion amongst us also and the devotees around us. Like our internals and externals don't match much. So how to overcome this phase? This is a phase. How to overcome this?
Well, it's a very sweet question. I mean, it's a very touching question. That probably requires more elaborate discussion than we would have time for. So I'll just say a few words, and maybe this topic can be continued later here. After I met Prabhupada in Mayapur, I saw him again in Calcutta, and I asked him a question. It's not recorded, but I'll tell you what the question was. When I was in Mayapur, devotees told me what I should do. In fact, I had big piles of should all around me. And they said, somebody would say, if you just chant Hare Krishna, everything will be fine. You must offer your food to Krishna. The most important thing is getting up in the morning. The most important thing is offering prayers. The most important thing is being humble and offering obeisances all the time. The most important this, most important that. There were 70 different versions of it. No, some people told me 5 different most important things. So maybe there were 80 different versions of it. So my head was spinning. And I was trying to figure out, okay, I'm really determined. I want to move ahead and advance my Krishna consciousness. What do I do? And I got the opportunity in Calcutta to ask that question of Prabhupada. Just simple, what do I do? I mean, in those days, I had hair. I had long hair even. Now I just long for a little bit of hair, but that's another story. But, I was about to pull out my hair and get shaved up the hard way because I just didn't know what to do. So Prabhupada gave me as you know, his transcendental, extremely transcendental and pithy wisdom. Pithy meaning precisely said. And he said the most important thing is just to associate with devotees. That's the most important thing. Now, the Upadeshamrita was not out yet. To me, the Upadeshamrita is internally the most important book we have, because it's an internal book. It's Rupa Goswami telling us in specific, clear, philosophically strong terms of how to associate. So following the guidelines of association, by that, then we can kind of reveal our hearts, open up our minds, and open up our hearts, develop heartfelt relationships, and from that, the issues you raise are resolvable. Incrementally. And as devotees, sometimes we're going to go 2 steps forwards, and guess what happens after that? 1 step backwards. It's going to happen to all of us. It's just the nature of this world. And what did Prabhupada do when he saw us take a step backwards? Shruti, what did Prabhupada do when he saw us take a step backwards?
He helped you get up.
Yeah.
That's what he did with me.
Yeah. Helped us get up. He helped us get up and move on. You're like you're learning how to walk. Kid falls, you don't say, okay, look at you, you fell, you little dumb, crippled little kid, you fell. You don't talk to a kid. You say, no, get up and walk. You get it. So that's what it's like. So we need to have that loving relation among devotees. We really have that deep affection. I mean, whenever I'm reading now that beautiful book on Narottam that just came out, Shtithla's book, beautiful book on Narottam. And you see it in the CC, you see it everywhere. And the loving relation among devotees is what made it work. That's what makes the movement work. Yeah. As the Beatles said, all you need is love. They just didn't understand how to do it. Okay, any other questions? We're almost out of time. Yeah, okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a very nice festival. But I'd like to point out, with respect, that the answer you got, the story. The story you told that you went to various places and you asked why you're there.
Yeah.
And the answer was, we give a little thing and we get a big thing back. So that's correct.
It is correct. No, it is.
We surrender ourselves to Krishna and we get Krishna in the spiritual world and eternal life.
Absolutely, but they weren't doing that. What did they want? They wanted, I can go over the list. I want a bigger dowry. I want a better rice. I want a better wife. Now, Krishna says 4 kinds of people approach me. And those that wanted something approached are considered punya, pious. So it's one of those. But me, it didn't satisfy me. I wanted something deeper. But you're correct. That is a correct point. And Krishna says that in the Gita. But I wanted something more. When I met Prabhupada, I got this something more.
And on your central point in the class, Rupa Goswami says, Nirvanda Krishna Sambandhe Mukta Vairag Sayujane. So we should give up those things not in connection to Krishna, which cannot be offered to Krishna, but those things that are in relationship to Krishna and can be offered to Krishna.
Yeah, and that's
what we should offer.
And that's precisely what I read. Prabhupada said to me. I actually read Prabhupada verbatim, saying, not quoting that verse, but saying the essence of that verse to me. That's what I read. Yeah, that's what I read. Thank you for adding that. I appreciate that. Was there time for, yes, Shruti?
Kind of a comment.
Microphone. Comments are most welcome.
About Srila Prabhupada's use of the word most important.
Yeah.
He used it in a very absolute way sometimes. there was never anything that was less important. So just like if he said real association with devotees was most important, but he might say to him, reading my books is most important. But depending on the individual.
Correct.
But like in the letter he said when he was asked, everyone's going out and distributing books, but I'm doing college programs. Should I go do books because that's most important? And he would say yes. And preaching in colleges is most important.
Yeah.
And worshiping the deity is most important. So on that level, everything was most important. There was no...
Yeah, no, I appreciate that comment. And Prabhupada's comment was specific to me at that time when so many things were said. And to me at that time, for my own advancement, the most important thing was association. And I take that as kind of a guiding rule for my whole devotional life. But thank you for saying that. I think we're out of time now. So with that, we'll stop here. Thank you very much. It's been a privilege. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Brahmatirtha Prabhu ki!